A storm is brewing in the South China Sea, and it has just taken a dangerous new turn. A Chinese Navy destroyer has crashed during a high-speed pursuit of a Philippine patrol vessel, raising fears that one wrong move could ignite a wider conflict. The stakes could not be higher. Regional powers are watching, and the margin for error has all but vanished. Welcome to Shadows of Strategy, where we uncover the hidden moves shaping our world. Today, we dive deep into the South China Sea showdown that may change the balance of power across Asia. The incident unfolded near the contested waters of the Spratly Islands, one of the most volatile flashpoints in maritime geopolitics. According to reports, a Chinese Navy destroyer, a vessel worth billions of dollars and central to Beijing's blue water ambitions, was dispatched to shadow and intercept a Philippine patrol ship operating within what Manila insists is its exclusive economic zone. Instead of relying on the Chinese Coast Guard or maritime militia, Beijing escalated the encounter by deploying a frontline naval asset. Eyewitness accounts suggest the Chinese destroyer accelerated aggressively during the pursuit, attempting to intimidate or force the Philippine ship off its course. But in a shocking twist, the warship lost control, colliding with another vessel in the area. The details remain murky. China has downplayed the accident, while the Philippines insists this shows Beijing's recklessness. What is clear is that the crash underscores the extreme risks of China's increasingly confrontational tactics. For years, the South China Sea has been a chessboard of shadow operations, ramming incidents, and dangerous flybys. But this marks a dangerous precedent: the use of high-value naval destroyers in gray zone conflicts. Traditionally, Beijing has relied on Coast Guard ships, fishing militias, or aircraft to harass and intimidate. Deploying a destroyer is different. It signals not just escalation, but desperation. Analysts argue it shows China is willing to put its most advanced assets at risk in order to project dominance over its smaller neighbors. From Manila's perspective, the incident is proof of China's willingness to gamble recklessly with regional security. Philippine officials immediately lodged protests, calling the crash a wake-up call. For the international community, President Marcos Jr. has publicly stated that such aggression cannot be ignored, vowing to continue patrols despite Beijing's pressure. His government is also demanding international condemnation, pointing to the ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in 2016 that invalidated China's sweeping claims over the sea, a ruling Beijing has consistently dismissed. International responses have been swift. The United States reaffirmed its commitment to defend the Philippines under the Mutual Defense Treaty, warning that any attack on Philippine ships or personnel would trigger an American military response. Japan and Australia echoed these sentiments, stressing the need for freedom of navigation and adherence to international law. Even the European Union weighed in, urging restraint but subtly backing Manila's position. Meanwhile, Beijing finds itself in a difficult spot. Domestically, Chinese state media has downplayed the accident, describing it as a minor maritime incident. But behind the scenes, the crash raises uncomfortable questions about naval discipline and readiness. A destroyer is not just a weapon of war, it is a symbol of national pride and prestige. Losing control in such a dramatic and public way undermines the image of Chinese naval supremacy that Beijing has been carefully cultivating. The geopolitical implications go far beyond the crash itself. For Washington, this is a golden opportunity to strengthen alliances. Already, joint exercises between the Philippines, the United States, and Australia have intensified. The recent Elan 25 drills saw amphibious landings, live fire training, and coordinated naval operations conducted near disputed waters. These exercises are more than military maneuvers, they are political signals, telling Beijing that its neighbors will not be intimidated. At the same time, the accident highlights the growing possibility of miscalculation. Imagine a scenario where a Philippine ship is damaged and lives are lost. Under the U.S.-Philippine Defense Treaty, that could draw in American forces almost immediately. Beijing would face the nightmare scenario of direct confrontation with the US Navy, something it has tried to avoid while still pushing its territorial claims. The destroyer crash has therefore turned theory into reality. One mistake, one reckless maneuver, and the region could spiral into conflict. China's strategic calculus is also evolving. By sending a destroyer instead of a Coast Guard vessel, Beijing likely sought to intimidate Manila into backing down. But the crash shows the limits of coercion. Instead of cowing its neighbor, China has emboldened the Philippines and its allies. Far from dividing the region, this accident has brought countries closer together under a shared fear of Chinese aggression. Meanwhile, the Philippines is not standing still. Its armed forces are undergoing modernization, with US support playing a central role. New bases have been opened to American forces under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Strategically positioned near Taiwan and the South China Sea, these bases serve both as a deterrent and as a staging ground in the event of escalation. Japan and Australia are also providing assistance, from surveillance aircraft to joint naval patrols. The message is clear: Manila is no longer isolated. Russia, interestingly, has remained silent. While Moscow is closely aligned with Beijing, it has little interest in being dragged into maritime disputes that could harm its own relationships in Southeast Asia. This silence underscores the fact that even China's partners may be uneasy about its increasingly reckless behavior. The regional dynamics are shifting. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia, all of which have their own disputes with Beijing, are watching closely. If China can lose control of a destroyer in pursuit of a much smaller Philippine vessel, it raises questions about just how sustainable Beijing's coercive strategy really is. The South China Sea is not just about territory, it is about energy reserves, trade routes, and strategic dominance. A single crash may not change the balance overnight, but it exposes vulnerabilities that others can exploit. Looking ahead, the danger of escalation looms large. Each encounter at sea is a test of nerves, and as vessels maneuver closer and closer, the odds of another accident rise. What happens when the next crash results in casualties? What happens when shots are fired? Will alliances hold, or will nations be forced into choices they have long sought to avoid? This is why the recent showdown matters so much. It is not simply about one destroyer crashing. It is about the reckless pursuit of dominance in one of the world's most vital waterways, and the very real possibility that the next mistake could trigger a war. The Philippines has shown resilience, standing firm in the face of pressure. The US and its allies have responded with renewed commitments. And China, despite its power, has revealed the risks of overreach. As tensions mount, one thing is certain: the South China Sea has entered a new phase of volatility. The question is no longer whether there will be confrontations, but how soon they will occur and how far they will go. This is Shadows of Strategy. Stay tuned, because this showdown is only the beginning.